Welcome to the SAU News Report. I'm Todd Flanagan.
And I'm Josie Lindgrin.
Today's guest, we have Laurie Kelley. She's a senior theater major from Camden, Arkansas. Welcome, Laurie.
Thanks.
All right, so is your major the same as it was before you left SAU?
Actually, it's not. My major originally, I was going to do a double major. I was going to get a BSc in English education, secondary English education, and I was going to get a BA with an English major and a theater minor. And now I am a theater major with an English minor.
Oh, okay. What made you switch over to theater?
Honestly, it was time. It was a lot shorter to just do one BA instead of doing a BSc and a BA.
Did you attend any other universities before SAU?
Actually, I did. Right out of high school, I was in college in Conway for 2 years, and then waited a couple of years because of family issues, and then came to SAU.
So you being from Camden, Arkansas, I guess it made it easier for you to come here to SAU. Is that why you chose SAU?
Yeah.
Also?
I was in Camden taking care of my grandmother, and it was very accessible for me to drive back and forth when I needed to. So SAU was the logical choice, and I knew I was going to get a good education here too.
Right, I understand where you're coming from because, you know, I don't live too far from here. I'm from Texarkana, Arkansas, so that's one of the reasons why I chose SAU also, because it was convenient and close, so that's neat.
Knowing that you're a non-traditional student, what sparked you to come back to school?
Well, partly it was because I am non-traditional age, and what I need to do, or what I'm planning on doing with the rest of my life, I need a degree. So there wasn't any sense in waiting any longer. So I decided to come on back and get finished.
Well, do you find it like, now that you're here back at SAU, do you find it harder, like campus life, I guess? Actually, what are the challenges you face as being a non-traditional student? That's what.
I guess the challenges would include mainly time, because I work 2 full-time jobs in addition to having a full school load, and I am theater major, and I've been cast in the Glass Menagerie, so rehearsals are every night throughout the week. So time is really my biggest challenge.
Well, yeah, go ahead, Jessica.
Well, do teachers treat you differently than other students?
I wouldn't think so. To some respect, I suppose they do, because they know that I am older and I do have 2 jobs, and you know, I am in a production. But as far as what they expect out of me, I don't think they expect anything different than they would any other students. As far as, you know, education goes, because you know, I'm receiving the same education that you guys are, just later on in life.
Right.
Well, do you find it easier or harder now that you're back here after, I don't know, how many years was it that you had in between time from when you started until now? Like, how long did you have time off until you came back?
Well, when I first came to SAU, was in '96. And then there was about 3.5 years there that I was out, and I came back for a semester, and then now I'm finally coming back to finish.
Right.
So it's been spread out. I got life, you know, life got in the way of my education, to be very honest. But I'm glad that I'm here now, and I'm ready to get this finished and go on and go past this. So.
Yeah. How do you find yourself back in school mode already?
It's been a lot easier to get back into school mode than I thought it would be. I really thought that I was going to come on campus and I was going to be the old lady and everybody was going to, oh, whatever, you know, lady, you just don't know what you're talking about. But you guys are great. I mean, it's been really easy to just slip back into being someone on campus, and you know, I'm busting my tail just like everyone else is, and as far as classes and rehearsal and everything.
Well, did you have any jobs like before? I know you stated that you have, or where do you work actually?
Well, I'm the director of a daycare here in town, University Children's Academy, and also I do computer-aided drafting for a land surveyor in Camden. And that job I had actually when I first started at SAU, the CAD job. So I've been doing that for quite a while, but it's flexible. I can do it whenever I need to. Of course, the daycare is not quite so flexible. You know, there are certain hours that we're open and everything. So.
Well, what I was getting at is, do you find it harder now to juggle everything now that you've kind of waited a few years to come back? Is it harder to juggle the jobs and now that you're in the theater production and your classes than it was before?
Oh yeah, it's much harder now. It's much harder to juggle time-wise because when you're working two full-time jobs out of necessity, you know, not just, well, I am a workaholic, but not just because of that, but out of necessity, you have two full-time jobs and then coming back to school and coming back to school full-time and being in a production. It is much harder, but at the same time, that's what I've chosen to do, and I love it, so.
Yeah. So would you say you have a certain appreciation for the education you're getting now than what you did like before? Absolutely.
I have a much greater appreciation for the education now. Yeah, it's been really great to be able to come back and know that what I'm learning actually will make a difference in my life. You know, so many people are like, when am I ever going to use this? I'm never going to use this. You do. You may not realize it, but you do. So it's really big.
I guess I can see that because, you know, now there's sometimes when I call home and I'm like, oh, I just want to give up sometimes, you know?
Yeah.
And I guess now that my mom tells me, you know, it will help out in the end, you know? So
It really does.
I'm sorry. Do you see other students like slacking off and being kind of like, oh man, you're going to regret it in the future?
Absolutely.
Feel like
I
no
try
one's
not to nag and, you know, be mom because, you know, sometimes I feel like I'm being a mom. But, yeah, especially because I've been able to get close to some of you younger guys. And I really want to be able to let you know how hard it really is when you're out on your own and you do have to pay all of your own bills and, you know, you have to make your way in life. It makes me want to just shake some people and say, don't you want to go to class? You really want to go to class, don't you?
Yeah.
Because you learn so much if you just apply yourself.
Well, how is it like meeting people on campus? Is it harder for you now that you're a bit older, or do you find it easier to meet people? Like, how do they take you as? Like,
Well, that's a good question. I think in some aspects it's a little harder because I'm not involved in the organizations now that I used to be involved in. But on the other hand, it's easier for people, I think, to come up and talk to me because, you know, I'm older, and so they just come up and they ask me advice,
Wiser.
and
Yeah.
so they think.
it's true.
So what was campus like 8 years ago? Was it a lot different? Has a lot changed?
Aesthetically, it was different. The Reynolds Center is here now, the new Honors Hall. But as far as the people on campus are just as friendly now as they were then. I haven't had any problem making friends or you know, anything like that. It's been really great to come back.
Well, I know that this campus has grown a lot. So back when you were here 8 years ago, was it easier? I didn't mean to say it like that. But was it easier
8 years ago.
to make friends and get to know people like than it is now, I guess, per se?
Well, when I first came here, I was involved in a sorority, and I was in choir, and you know, I was in theater and Alpha Psi Omega. It's the National Theater Fraternity. And so I guess in one aspect it was easier because 90% of my time was spent on campus. Now I'm here for classes and for rehearsals, and that's it. So I guess it's a little harder just because simply of the time.
Yeah.
Well, what about the curriculum? Is it harder now?
Oh, I wouldn't think that it's harder necessarily, other than the fact that I am taking senior level courses now.
Yes.
But I wouldn't say harder. I'd actually say that it's easier for me because I'm actually studying and applying myself.
Well, that's funny because I know that like when you're taking like your English classes and stuff, and you take time off, and then you have to get back into the swing of things. It just seems to me like it'd be kind of harder to get to.
Well, I think it ties back into the fact that I appreciate the education now.
Okay.
So that's what
see.
makes it easier, is because
You're right.
I see what I'm going to get out of it.
And also there's probably the end, and you're getting more involved in the courses that pertain to what you want to do later on in life.
Exactly. Exactly.
So, were you, like you said, you were involved in campus organizations. Then tell us a little bit about that. What organizations?
Then,
Then,
when I
and then we'll move to the.
Okay, well then I was active in my sorority. I was Phi Mu, and like I say, I was in Alpha Psi Omega, which is the National Theater Fraternity. I'm still a member of that. You're a lifelong member once you're there. I'm not going to let you go. And I was, like I say, I had a scholarship in choir, so I had to have those certain classes, and theater takes up a lot of time, as you know.
Oh, right. Yes, and you said that you were involved in the Glass Menagerie.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about that. Like, give us something about the Glass. Tell us about the Glass Menagerie.
A little synopsis.
Little synopsis of the Glass Menagerie.
Well, Glass Menagerie, written by Tennessee Williams. It's set back in the 30s, and I play Amanda Wingfield. She's the mother.
Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you
Getting
very
a role.
much. I decided to go on and audition for the first production, jump right back into school. Anyway, Amanda Wingfield is the mother. She's a little manipulative, a little overbearing, but she's always charming. Always charming. She's from the deep South, so everything she says just has to be charming.
All right. I like that. You might want to finish the interview talking like that.
Well, I just don't know about that, but no, it's a really good story. It involves the mother, and there's a son and a daughter. The daughter's a little withdrawn, and the mother wants her to just be out there and to meet a man. She needs to get married, and so she tries to get the son to bring a man in to have the daughter meet and get acquainted, and maybe they could hit it off. Long story short, The Glass Menagerie is a really great tale, and it's one of those classics that you can bring the family to. There's not anything raucous in it, or anything bad in it. So if you have a family, you can come watch it.
All right. Well, how long have you been acting?
Oh wow, a while now. I guess the first production I was in, I was a freshman in high school. I was in The Crucible by Arthur Miller, and the difference in then and now is now I play the mothers, and then I played the little girl. I was the little one. I was the only freshman, so I got to play the little girl. And it's been a while. It's been a while, but I've enjoyed every single moment.
Well, would you like to tell us about some past theater roles?
Well, in addition to that one, let's see, some of my favorites. I loved the musical that we did, Into the Woods. That was still in high school. It was just a great
I've
production.
seen that. That's a really good production.
Yeah. But I guess my favorites here at SAU were, I played Mama Wheelis in Daddy's Dying, Who's Got the Wheel. And actually, the director told me afterwards that people came up to him and asked him, "How did you get a 70-year-old woman on stage?"
Well, that's
really?
good, apparently.
They actually thought I was an old lady.
Job well done,
Well,
actually.
thank you very much.
That's perfect.
Yeah, and the last one that I did before leaving was, I was in the cover of Life, and it was a theater show, meaning we took it to theater festival.
Right.
Actually, it was a festival show. And I was nominated for an Irene Ryan Award, so
Congratulations.
it was a really good role. It was a very strong woman, very independent. So, and now I'm Amanda Wingfield.
Wow. Well, how do you prepare for something like that, like an audition? How do you prepare?
Well, it depends on how the auditions are set up. When I was here before, the auditions were, I guess you could say, informal. It was basically cold readings, which means you come in and you have a script and you just read the script with other people. There were no monologues or anything that you had to do. Well, coming back to school, to my surprise, I had to have 2 monologues ready, a dramatic one and a comedic one. Well, that was a little shocking for me. I was like, oh my goodness, I've never done this before. I've never had it set up like that. So I dove in and grabbed a couple of monologues and went out and did it. And in my opinion, if you try to get yourself all worked up and, okay, this is exactly how I have to do it, then it's not going to come off real.
Right.
So you just have to take a deep breath, walk in there and do it and not apologize.
Do you find it hard finding monologues to suit characters? Like, did you try to find a monologue to, say, suit Amanda's character?
No. In fact, I don't know that it would be wise to do something like that, because I think when the director's looking at you, he's looking not just for one-dimensional, character. He's wanting to know what you can do, your range, where can you go. And if you just get a monologue that would suit just the character that you're auditioning for, then you're not showing much range. It's very one-dimensional.
Well, could you give us a little taste of Amanda Wingfield for us, please?
Surely. Well, I tell you, Amanda she's just wonderful, and she loves her children. They're very, very precious to her. She sees that they have natural endowments, and she loves them both dearly. But, as I said before, she can be a little overbearing and a wee bit manipulative, but always charming. Always charming, especially to the young gentleman caller.
Well, that is good. Wonderful.
Thank you.
Right. Well, what part of theater do you enjoy most? Like acting, behind the scenes? I can tell you, I know you enjoy acting. That was really good, by the way.
Yeah, thank you. I love being on stage. That's really where my heart is. But at the same time, I have written a few scripts and written some different stuff. So I've directed many things outside of SAU. And so I'm comfortable wherever I need to be. Now, I don't necessarily want to be the one hammering the stage together. You might not be able to stand on it if that happens. But, I can give someone my vision. Okay, this is what I see. And
just well-rounded.
Right. I like to do it all. And I think if you have a true love for theater, theater itself, not just for acting or just for directing, but if you have a true love of theater, that you're going to like a little bit of it all and be able to do a little bit of it all.
Well, what else have you done besides the like behind the scenes? Do you remember? Can you recall anything? Like in past productions that
well, let's see. It's been so long ago.
Oh my gosh.
I've done quite a bit of costume and makeup, and really love that. In fact, the first makeup role that I had, I was doing a children's production here for SAU, and it was actually quite fun because they did a rendition of The Tortoise and the Hare. And so the makeup had to be, I had to make one look like a tortoise and one look like a hare. So it was really fun. And you get to be creative whenever you're behind the scenes, even as much as you are when you're on stage. So I just really love it.
So, do you have any advice for like anyone wanting to be in theater? Like any advice for them?
Jump in and do it. Don't be afraid. I know a lot of people say they have stage fright, but the worst thing to do is to just keep telling yourself, oh, I've got to do this perfectly, and if I don't enunciate it that way, then he's going to... Don't get all worked up in the little bitty things. Get out there and be real. Because if you can look someone in the eyes and make them believe that you're truly talking to them, then that's what it's all about. Because, theater is about connecting. Even though there's that invisible fourth wall there that we as actors never want to cross, you still have to connect with your audience and let them know that you're real people. And you can bring the emotion out, and just, I guess what I would say is that if you want to do theater, don't be afraid to just jump in and look like a fool. Because if you're afraid to look like a fool, you're going to fall flat on your face.
Do you like improv also, like as part of theater, or is it just kind of, do you just like working with scripts?
I'm more comfortable with scripts, but you know, if you put me in an improv situation and say, okay, this is what we're going to do, then I'll go with that too. It just depends on the setting. When it's just laid back and you can just talk and just do whatever, then yeah. And especially if you know the person that you're improving with, then it's really easy to just jump in and just do whatever.
How has theater like affected your life? Has it in any way like changed your life? Like any productions that you've been in, any characters?
Yeah, theater itself has changed my life because I've never been a shy person. Let me just say that right up front. But at the same time, you know, I think everyone has issues with self-esteem, and you, sometimes you want to pretend to be someone else. Well, if you're in theater, it's easy because you get to just get up on stage and be someone else for a little while. But you gain that self-confidence. You know, even if your performance wasn't perfect or great or anything like that, you can still get up there and go, you know what, I gave it my all, I gave it my best. I made people laugh or I made people cry, maybe when they should have been laughing. But at the same time, you had a connection with the audience. And to me, if you're connecting with your audience, then you're making a difference. You're pulling them into something that they've never been pulled into before. And that makes a difference in them. So that's how theater makes a difference for me.
So neat.
Yeah.
Do you try to take stuff out from the character, like try to learn from the character's mistakes that they make and try to retain it to your life?
Well, I would say no, because of the fact that I myself have been through a lot of things. So I think it's the exact opposite. I take what I've experienced, you know, what I've been through, and I put it into the character. Because in my opinion, you have to make each character your own. I mean, the author or the playwright writes it a specific way, but you still have to make that character your own.
Right.
I'm going to have Laurie Kelley's rendition of Amanda Wingfield, not, you know, whoever else has played her before.
That's good. That's really neat to know about your theater experiences and what you've learned. So, do you have any advice for anyone that's thinking of returning to school, like as a non-traditional student, or leaving early for them?
To those people that are wanting to come back, please do, because when you come back, yes, I guarantee you, it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard time-wise. But if you're determined that, look, I'm going to finish this degree because you need it, you need the learning, you need the experience, because whenever you're learning, you're growing. And we as people, we never want to stop growing. We don't want to stop learning. So absolutely, come back and finish. You know, have that under your belt so that you can say, it was hard, I had a family, I had jobs, I had all of this, but I did it.
Yeah.
And to those that are wanting to leave a little bit early, I would say, please don't. I think that there are reasons that, you know, we as people go through different things. I personally let life get in the way of my education. But, you know, I have experiences now coming back into school that obviously I wouldn't have had I just gone straight through. But at the same time, I'm a lot older getting my bachelor's degree than, you know, than other people. So.
All right. Well, thank you for that.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you for joining us today here at the SAU News Report. Again, I'm Todd Flanagan.
And I'm Josie Lindgrin.